Now, welcome back into Hoosier Sports Night. Now, we've spent the last 30 minutes here on the program taking a closer look at the coach Kelvin Sampson situation, and it will continue to be in the headlines over at least the next week down here in Bloomington. So it's only fair at this point to bring in some friends to help us talk about what exactly is happening with Coach Kelvin Sampson. As we all know, by at least this Friday, there will be some type of report released by the Indiana University Athletic Director, and for that, we welcome in Ken Bikoff, the managing editor of Inside Indiana, and Chris Korman, the Indiana beat reporter for men's basketball for the Herald-Times. He will join Patrick Hurley, the Hoosier Sports Nite producer, with myself here in the studio. And Ken, we'll start with you. We know that this situation has at least some type of resolution on Friday, but at this point, is there any doubt that Coach Kelvin Sampson will not have this job at least within a week?
Well, that's a good question, and that is really what everybody's waiting to see. Now, it seems that there's a very good chance that he won't have a job this time next week, and that once the report comes back and is given to Michael McRobbie, that the recommendation will come through. Now, if that recommendation comes through on Friday, if it comes on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that's what we don't know. But the real situation is that they're kind of going through this investigation, looking over the transcripts of what the NCAA found. Now, if the NCAA found problems in that area, it's likely that Indiana investigators are going to find the same situation, and so that could really be kind of what we're dealing with.
Right, they're dealing with, I think, about 15 players who talked to the NCAA but wouldn't talk to the IU investigators. So I think they just have to go over transcripts and figure out what's in there that made the NCAA come to its conclusions. And I know the story we worked on today was we were trying to find out what is his committee doing? What are they doing today? Are they locked in a room somewhere going over this stuff? And we were told that it was a personnel matter and that that information would not be released to us. So I think that most people are really sure that Kelvin Sampson is done as the coach of Indiana, and right now that this is just taking time to put together the legal case to dismiss him.
If that's the case, then a lot of people are saying, well, why isn't Kelvin Sampson stepping down on his own? Is it unfair to the team that he's still coaching them right now when you got a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds not even knowing if their head coach is going to be there for the end of the Big Ten season? Well,
remember that Kelvin Sampson says that he'll fight this all the way through to the bitter end, and so certainly just stepping down is somewhat of a tacit agreement with the NCAA, so I think that that's one of the big reasons why he hasn't gone ahead and stepped down at this point.
Right, pride. I mean, I think Kelvin Sampson is a prideful guy, and he wants his name to be cleared, and so he's going to fight this thing all the way through. The other option would be that he's trying for some sort of financial buyout, which would take some time for him to leverage, and that would be a long discussion between his lawyers and IU's lawyers.
And love him or hate him, as a coach, in the game as a coach and with his players, he's like a father to the guys, and there's no way he's going to abandon them, and I think that there's no doubt if he resigned, he would see that in his own mind as being abandoning his team, and he just will not do that.
Now, there's a lot of speculation, too, that if Kelvin Sampson does indeed lose his job over the next week, that Indiana University Athletic Director Rick Greenspan is also going to take a lot of heat and could lose his job. Now, when you look at what Rick Greenspan has done since he came to Indiana University, there's a lot of positives. Bringing in Terry Hepner was definitely a plus. Getting his say on a $55 million plan to close in the north end zone at Memorial Stadium, to build this practice facility for the basketball team, to build new facilities for baseball and softball, but does he then have to lose his job for bringing in Kelvin Sampson and possibly tainting one of the purest basketball programs in the country?
I think that we have to understand where Rick Greenspan had a part in all of this. When a university like Indiana hires a basketball coach, it's a decision of a lot of people. I mean, it's not only the board of trustees and people that you'd expect, but big donors. Guys who are giving them the most money they're pulling strings behind the doors, and we have to know where Rick Greenspan fit in all that. And I think for right now, he's safe, and then they're going to look at that once all this is cleared.
And even if it was Greenspan's decision alone, which it wasn't, but even if it was, Kelvin Sampson gave his word to Rick Greenspan. This would not happen again. I've learned my lesson. At this point, Rick Greenspan, Sampson betrayed his trust if these allegations are true. And if that's the case, I don't know that Greenspan is necessarily responsible. I think if this had gone on and been found from outside sources or the records came from people not inside the administration, I think then that's when Greenspan should take more heat. But as it is, it came from inside IU, like President McRobbie said last week. The administration did its job.
Exactly, and You know, it's hard. You don't want to say that Mr. Greenspan should lose his job over simply this one instance. You know, I keep imagining the two of them, Coach Sampson and Rick Greenspan, sitting in a room together, and Kelvin Sampson just telling him flat out, you know, this will not happen again. I won't do this. No problems like this are going to happen at this university. This is my dream job, et cetera, et cetera. And I just can't help but feel betrayed personally as a fan, as a student, as someone who's followed this team for this year. I really can't seem to put that blame on Rick Greenspan.
Well, and remember, guys, too, I mean, even with Kelvin Sampson or Jeff Meyer, Rob Senderoff, everybody that's been mentioned in this, it's not as if these guys were villains with the top hat and the handlebar mustache and the whole deal, and really set out to do this. It was mistakes were made. Now, they may have been dumb mistakes, but they were mistakes that were made, and so, you know, it is casting a thing of should people lose their jobs over this? Yes. Are these bad people when all is said and done? No, not really.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. And just going back to the Rick Greenspan comment for just a moment, yes, there were other people involved with the hiring process. You can make a good point for Adam Herbert, the former president of the university, and several other members of the Board of Trustees who all signed off to bring in Coach Kelvin Sampson. But the bottom line is the man directly in charge is Rick Greenspan, and I think if that's the case, that Kelvin Sampson is guilty and Kelvin Sampson does go down for this, I think Rick has to go down with him.
Yeah, we need to question Rick Greenspan about why he didn't have more doubt in October. I mean, when that report came out in October, we all were thinking, well, this doesn't make sense. There are a lot of things here that we don't understand. And Rick Greenspan gave us, what, a 60-minute teleconference to ask questions. And, you know, if Rick Greenspan didn't have the appropriate, you know, skepticism at that time, then he is to blame.
Other guys on the coaching staff, too, whose job security may come up as well. Certainly Jeff Meyer, the assistant coach, who was linked in that NCAA report, which was released by Indiana University on Wednesday. Does he then find himself in trouble because his name came up more than one time in that document?
Well, I think almost certainly. I mean, Kelvin Sampson is the one that runs the program, but Jeff Meyer certainly is somebody that has to be in trouble as well, which is a shame. He's a good guy, a very good coach, but again, somebody who's been in the game for a long time and made some mistakes.
Yeah, the rules he broke, he should have known. He's been, like you said, he's been in the game long enough to know that you cannot give recruits, you know, you can't give their high school coach a gift, which is what he did. And so, you know, he'll probably take a fall too.
So without question, certainly a sticky situation here at Indiana University right now. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll take a look at what lies ahead for Indiana University. If indeed Coach Kelvin Sampson has to go, who is next in line, and what effect, if any, does this have on the future of the program? Keep it right here on Hoosier Sports Night.